Alright, today I'm going to talk to you about my install. I installed a 370 amp Mechman Alternator on my Tahoe. Let's see here. It's a simple install. I was going to film the install, but it's very simple. I can probably just explain to you. And I also did what they call the Big 3 upgrade because you kind of need to because of the amperage this alternator puts out. When I bought this Tahoe years ago, it already had a sound system in it, so typically on the Big 3 you upgrade your ground to the body of the chassis and then the engine, and then upgrade your power wire. As you can see here, I just upgraded these two cables because this right here is a ground from the audio and it's grounded down. Now on the frame I can't really show you, but while I was at it, I got a new battery, and the whole reason I had to do this, or did it, was because about 4 years ago I replaced my stock alternator with another stock alternator. I think it was from AutoZone or whatever. Well, I started having like weird electrical issues, like my gauges would kind of like start ticking, like acting kind of weird, and then my battery would go dead. And I had a yellow top Optima before, so I was able to jump myself. And Kaya, Kaya, hey, get over here. Sorry, dogs. So yeah, I would jump myself and get it up and running, and she'd run for another couple days like normal. And then my battery would go dead again. So I took it into AutoZone. They threw their little tester thing on there, and they said I had a bad voltage regulator on my alternator. So I didn't want to just replace with a stock alternator. And coincidentally enough, the alternator I had bought from them, they said it was no longer under warranty, or no, it was actually, they couldn't find my purchase in the system, so I couldn't warranty out the alternator. So I was like, alright, well, screw you guys anyways, you know, I'm not going to put another remanufactured alternator on there. And then my battery, I thought it killed my battery because I threw a charger on it, and threw a charger on it overnight, and it did not charge. So I don't know, maybe my connection wasn't that great on there, but it did not charge. So I bought a new battery. And then I took that old battery and I threw it on my charger in my garage and left it on there, and it actually got really hot, like this, to touch. So I was a little worried, but it actually came back to life and held the charge, which is what I like about these Optima batteries. Is you're able to drain them and then recharge them, but it was a little strange it got warm. But anyways, to do the install, it's simple. What I did is I took my little air cleaner box off just to get access down here. So you take this little bolt off right here, pulls your cover off, and then you undo that clamp, and you could just lift this off and put it over here in the engine bay out of the way. So you're gonna have to take your serpentine belt off, and if you do get a new Mechman alternator, this pulley is I think like a 2-inch pulley, and the stock was like a 2.5 inch. So it's a smaller, half-inch smaller pulley. So you're supposed to run a smaller serpentine belt. The guys at Mechman gave me a code number for a serpentine belt that I gave to Napa to get me a new battery, or to get a new serpentine belt, and they gave it to me, but it was like way too small. Like I was fighting it, trying to get it on, and so I tried getting. And it was my misunderstanding, but I thought the guy said it was a 1/2 inch. This belt was going to be a 1/2 inch smaller, but he was saying the pulley is a 1/2 inch smaller. So, so after going through like 3 or 4 different belts to find the right belt size, this is actually still my stock belt right now. It runs, and the tension seems good. So, and the tensioner pulley down over here, right there. So this right here is your tensioner pulley. That actually is still in the right specs. You can kind of see right here, these lines right here. It's in the right tolerances as far as tension goes. So I'm going to run my stock belt for a while, and in a little bit I'll probably replace it anyways because I need a new belt. While I had this belt off, I replaced my AC condenser belt just because I was there. But it's a plug and play system pretty much. You just undo this bolt and then that bolt right here, and your alternator comes off after you take your serpentine belt off. And then I just bought this kit off of Amazon. It's a little wiring kit. It's a 0-aught, the OFC copper, so the oxygen-free copper. The Mechman Alternator kit comes with this little wiring harness, and it's simple. Like once you unclip your old alternator plug, you hook this up. Just plugs in right here to where this originally right here plugged into your stock alternator. But now you just put this little wiring harness kit on there, and then you run this wire. I ran it to my fuse, I guess fuse panel right here. I did a little tap right here, and it has to be on a ignition source. So if you look at my wiring diagram, I wired mine to, I think this one, ignition E, the 10 amp one. That's where I wired that to. So, and it worked out nice. Another reason why I like these Ultimate batteries, I always get the ones at the top post as well as the side post. I don't know if they're called the SAE or whatever, but that way if I ever need to jump myself, I can just pull these caps off and jump it. It's simple. And then also when I go to add more things on here, like wiring or not wiring, lighting, or a better sound system, then I'll have a lot more options as far as electrical goes to get my wiring in here. A lot of guys will get their their ground wire, and I grounded it right here just to this bolt right there, and ran that wire to the negative terminal, and then ran the positive straight to the alternator. And typically you have a wire, I think it's like a, I don't know, like an 8-gauge wire that goes from the alternator down into here. Well, what I did is I just, if I can open this real quick. So right here, I couldn't get that freaking bolt off, so I just cut it right there. But again, I have a sound system on here, so it's got maybe a little bit different wiring than your vehicle would. But I just cut that off. But yeah, so anyways, I just ran the power from the alternator straight to the battery, and then the negative straight to this ground right here, and then the engine, or the body's already grounded from my sound system, but so a lot of guys will run a ground, so like this ground is already down here grounded to the chassis, but here's another grounding point right here that you could do. This is your stock ground. But as far as the install goes on this alternator, it's super simple. It puts out like 200 amps at idle and 370 at, I think it was 1800 RPMs. But again, you just remove those two bolts right there and over here, unplug your harness and take your serpentine belt off, and your alternator comes off, and then you just do the opposite order and your alternator goes back in. Put your belt on, and then again I used just a kit. Let's see, this one's off of Amazon. It was a recoil, but it's the 0-gauge or 1-aught OFC copper, and this stuff is so freaking weird. It's like so flexible and like gummy feeling. It's some weird stuff, but it makes it nice for wiring. And I left myself kind of long just in case, because who doesn't like a little bit extra length, you know what I'm saying? So again, install is pretty simple, and I haven't had any issues. The only issue that I'm still kind of having, and it's not because of any of this, but I think it's from maybe my the voltage regulator on my old alternator going out, is now just my left turn signal, for some reason, it's clicking fast. And it was before I installed this. It was doing it kind of like when they're like, oh yeah, your voltage regulator is bad. So I have LEDs on these like lower lamp running lights and turn signals. I have LEDs in the headlights, but not the housings themselves. And then I also have these LEDs right here, and I've never had them give me any issues. I've had them on for years, and now they're just starting to, at least just the left turn signal will start to turn, blink really fast. Like it's almost like one of the halogen light bulbs is burnt out, but all my lights are good. So if you guys happen to know what could be causing that, it's an electrical gremlin, I'm sure. So I'm gonna have to try to chase it down. But as far as the install goes, guys, this Mechman Alternators is awesome. I'm really pleased with how it's performing right now. I plan on adding an inverter on my Tahoe to kind of make it a little bit more kind of like an overland off-grid vehicle, not like a doomsday prep kind of vehicle, but just have an alternator, or not an alternator, inverter on there, because I like to go camping a lot, and it'd be nice to just have a little inverter on there so I don't have to bring my generator all the time. But what do you think? Was doing good? So yeah, anyways, hopefully you guys liked the video, and if you do, like and subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments or message me. And if you're doing an install like that, feel free to reach out to me and I can kind of walk you through it. Again, it's super simple. Pretty much anybody can do it. Probably the hardest part, and it's not even hard, is just doing the serpentine belt. And you do want to make sure you remember the routing. My vehicle has like a diagram on there, so remember the routing on there just to make it easier to put it together. But yeah, again, hopefully you guys like the video. Like and subscribe, and again, message me for any questions. Okay, see ya.